Welcome to New Mexico Restaurants Now, where we get you the inside scoop on the food scene across New Mexico. This episode is brought to you by NMRA's Chef Table sponsors. These businesses provide the most generous level of support to help keep our restaurants protected, informed, and successful. So thank you to Benny Keith Foods, the Food Industry Self-Insurance Fund, Heartland Payment Systems, Shamrock Foods, Cisco New Mexico, and U.S. Foods. We would not be here without you. I'm Carol White, CEO of the New Mexico Restaurant Association, and our guests today are Tom and Jerean Hutchinson of La Posta de Mesilla and La Hacienda de Mesilla. I'm excited to talk to them about their historic restaurant and their bed and breakfast. Welcome, Tom and Jerean.
Hi, Carol.
Hey, Carol. Thank you for having us.
Great to have you here. How exciting. So I love these people. I think I've been on the phone with them more than my own mother this year. and there's good reason for that. But you know what? I want to talk to you about your restaurant. And of course, I had restaurants in Las Cruces, so I'm very familiar with La Posta de Mesilla. But tell us a little bit about the history.
Go ahead, Marcia.
So back in 1939, Katie Griggs Camuñas started La Posta de Mesilla. No running water, dirt floors, probably 6 tables. And the restaurant itself, La Posta de Mesilla, was deeded to Katie for $1 love and affection by her Uncle Edgar. That's a story I always love to share because we did not get that deal when we purchased the restaurant. So hence 1996. So a little bit of the background, Katie was a great aunt of mine. Her first husband was Ernesto Camuñas, hence my uncle. So kept it all in the family. We moved back here in 1996 to be closer to my parents, to raise our family. My kids at the time were 3, 5, and 7. And so it was just a great opportunity for us to move back. And it has blessed us with the ability to have an income and an economic vibrancy to be able to stay in the city that I was born and raised in and love.
You know, what's even more special about La Posta in our, I guess, 81 years now, is that it's housed in an old historic adobe building that once was a thriving stagecoach stop and a variety of other things over the years. The Corn Exchange Hotel was a famous hotel back in the 1860s and 70s. Back then, Mesilla actually was on the other side of the Rio Grande River from Las Cruces. It was only after some floods in the 1870s that the river had settled to the west. And so now we can drive back and forth to Las Cruces without crossing the river in a barge. So, Mesilla, Carol, you probably remember this from living here, was ground zero for the Wild Wild West. And La Posta and the properties in and around it were part of that story. From Billy the Kid and Pat Garrett to bullfights, saloons, cockfights, bullfights, you name it. It all happened here in Mesilla back in the 1880s.
Well, and one of the beautiful things about Mesilla in general is the buildings around the Mesilla Plaza. Everything is on the National Historic Registry. So when we're bringing new guests or people who have never been here, Mesilla, especially La Posta, 1840s building, adobe, we like to just say we are old as dirt because the adobe is just so special, right? It's historic with the plaza where there was the Gaston Purchase, the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, a lot of history. So it really is a charming town that we're a part of as well.
It's a beautiful plaza. So just to give people like a feel for this, it's a real plaza. Like there's a, what do you call it? The structure that's in the middle.
Well, we have the gazebo.
The gazebo,
right?
Yes.
Gazebo. And then one end of the plaza, which you typically have in New Mexico, is a church. And ours happens to be a
Basilica. San Albino.
One of 2 basilicas in the entire state. But you're right, plazas in Mesilla were not built for merchants. They were actually built for protecting the farmers back in the day when the Indians and the settlers didn't get along real well. So they would, if there was some fights getting ready to happen or whatever, they would gather, the farmers and the families would gather in the plaza and defend themselves there.
Interesting. So it's charming. It's wonderful. There's all sorts of shops around. And it's a wonderful place to spend an afternoon. And maybe you go to La Posta for lunch. And then after you've shopped a little bit, you go back to La Posta for margaritas. And, and I know people, I haven't lived in Las Cruces for about 18 years now, but I have to go back and I have to eat at La Posta. And I know other people that have been doing this for 30 years. They may not live there anymore, but they have to go to La Posta and eat whatever it is that is their favorite. And so let's talk a little bit about the food. It is special. It is New Mexican. It's about as New Mexican as you can get, but talk to us about some of people's favorites.
So the recipes of La Posta started back with Katie in 1939. Her grandmother, her mother in the kitchen cooking. So a lot of these are the Chavez Griggs fountain recipes handed down over many years. And so we pride ourselves in using local produce from the valley, our red and green chili. We were farm to table before it was, quote, cool to be farm to table, because for 80 years, we've been using the same red and green chili from the valley. We use our dried red chili and our enchiladas, our red enchiladas. We still make them the old fashioned way. So you take the red dried chili pods and you make a great little chili sauce with them. And that's the way they've done it for a long, long time. Some of our other great treats, delicacies, if you will, from Mesilla and La Posta are our tostada compuesta. We like to say that Katie, and she was a wonderfully flamboyant, vibrant personality, but she was also an inventor. She invented the tostada compuesta, which is a corn tortilla cup that you fold you fry, and then it has either your red or your green chili meat. And we've been serving those for 80 years. The other thing that we're known for is we were probably one of the first restaurants. Again, we're probably one of the only restaurants around back then in the 1939s, but we served chips and tostadas and salsa, with every meal. Now that's almost a customary, but back then it was not so customary, and that was something that Katie also started.
Yeah, they used to serve chile and tostadas. Now it's chips and salsa. But we're also famous for our tacos, whether it's the rolled tacos or the folded tacos. People come from far and near to, it seems like our rolled tacos are like eating peanuts. You can't put them down once you start. And you throw in a little chili con queso with it, or red or green chili sauce, and it's just a wonderful flavor combination. The profile is just wonderful with the meat and the tortilla and the corn. So anyway, to your point, Carol, though, Southern New Mexico food tends to be a little bit different from our friends in the north, and you're from the north, and you get that. But like Jerean said, it's so tied to our chilies in the valley. You don't find cilantro or some other very strong ingredients in our food. We leave that to the chili, the taste of the chili, and that takes care of itself. So it's worked for 81 years, and we hope it'll work for 81 more.
Absolutely. And one of the nice things about the Mesilla Valley, and people have heard of Hatch chili, Hatch green chili, Hatch. What people don't understand is, truly, we use Hatch chili as well as the whole Mesilla Valley. We have great farmers. We even use, we're a farming community. So even our pecans, which we have a lot in this valley, we have sourced and used them as rims for our margaritas, which you can't have a great Mexican meal without a good margarita. And that's that's our specialty. We have over 100 tequilas. We have some very great specialty tequilas. And because we love chili, we have our world famous chili margarita. We have two versions, a blackberry habanero chili rita and a green chili margarita. And it's rimmed with local honey, local pecans, and green chili rim. So we love anything with chili in it or on it.
That's true. And I've got to say, Jerean is probably one of the most knowledgeable people about tequila and I don't know what that says about Jerean, but
I
know she loves it.
You know what? Especially during COVID.
Yeah, no kidding.
Love our tequila. It's all good, but we like sharing tequila with the world, and we have very knowledgeable staff and have lots of fun educating the public about it.
Well, very fun. Don't you have some tequilas named after the hacienda?
We actually have tequilas. What we have done over the past probably 10, 12 years is we have purchased the whole barrels of tequila. So we were one of the first restaurants in the Southwest to purchase a whole keg of Patron Añejo tequila. And so we use that, and it's always different than what you will find in the stores because we get to test it and ask them to age it. And so we're going on our, I think, 11th barrel of Patron tequila that we use here at the restaurant. We've also done a barrel of Casa Noble, who at the time it was Carlos Santana, who was actually a partner with Casa Noble. We were the first ones to get that barrel here in New Mexico. And we also have done Herradura. And Herradura is also another very old tequila distillery. And so we've probably had 6 of those barrels. So we do a lot of tequila.
I was going to say, that's a lot of liquor.
A lot of tequilas. Well, yeah, it goes well. It pairs well with our Mexican food.
Yes, it does. And beers do as well. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So I just, I would encourage anybody. Now I'm going to kind of explain where Mesilla is, because I mean, you and we all know that it's near Las Cruces, but if you don't know where Las Cruces is, that's even more difficult. So it's about, 45 miles from north of El Paso, Texas.
Correct. Right.
And Mesilla is it's kind of a bedroom community of Las Cruces. And honestly, you guys have so many great restaurants and such a great little town there that you could skip Las Cruces altogether. And do not tell anybody I said that, but you could, and I have before.
Well, I think the whole beauty of the Mesilla community is we're made up of small mom and pops in a lot of ways, independents who really take great pride in not only being in Mesilla, but in their restaurants and servicing to the public. So it's a wonderful, vibrant little community.
Nice. So you've taken on a new project in a bed and breakfast that's just about across the street from La Posta. It's a little bit more than across the street, but let's talk about La Hacienda.
Well, in 2017, we acquired a property that actually was developed back in the mid-'80s, 1980s. It was named then the Maison de Mesilla. It was a 14-room boutique hotel with a restaurant, much smaller restaurant. And it's probably had 3 or 4 or 5 owners over the years till we were approached by the last owner in 2017 to acquire it. She wanted to get to Florida, and she had some other plans. So we, at our young age, we decided we'd take a hard look at it. We weren't necessarily into new projects, but it was always something we felt that underperformed. Beautiful property, real estate, which is my passion. I really enjoyed the setting and what it had to offer. So early of 2017, we talked my son into coming down from Albuquerque. He was working at Papados up there at the time, to come down and help us run that. Again, it's a beautiful property, 14-room boutique hotel, 24-hour concierge service with a menu that's slightly on the higher end, but I would say it complements very nicely the food offerings in Mesilla. We have seafood, steaks, other fine dishes with a little southwestern flair to it. Really beautiful outdoor space, has a little pool as well. Some great second floor space. We call it rooftop dining. And Jerean's done a really nice job over the last couple of years of transforming it from the previous owner's kind of Tuscany theme to a Mesilla Hacienda theme.
So a little bit about Hacienda de Mesilla and what we found so beautiful. For those of us who have been born and raised in Las Cruces in the Mesilla Valley, the draw of the Organ Mountains is just magical. And I think you really appreciate that as somebody who's grown up in this area and as newcomers. They're just magical. They're beautiful. The sunrise, the sunset. On top of, we have a second floor rooftop for Hacienda that is just beautiful. It captures the Organ Mountains that no other place in town can. And so we've really capitalized, and we want to do more with that, to just give that, beautiful view with some great drinks. Our wine list, we focus a little bit more on New Mexico, some local wines, and also just a really nice cocktail list as well. As Hutch mentioned, we wanted something to appeal to the mass population, but was a little different than everything that is in Las Cruces, New Mexico. We have great Mexican food in New Mexico. There's lots of different types. We wanted to do something a little different. So Hacienda is a little bit more casual, upscale. We use our green chili, for example. One of our top sellers is our blue corn, green chili, crab enchiladas. And that kind of we brought a little bit of the seafood flair in. Granted, we're in New Mexico, but they do a great job. And so that has turned out to be one of our top sellers. The other thing that we did was we brought in some red enchiladas as well, but we do other seafood, like our sea bass is awesome. We do a pecan crusted salmon, and that's pretty special. And we do a little crab stack. So again, one of our other top sellers is what we would call the asadero steak, sorry. Arrachera steak, sorry. And it's really been our top seller. So we've kind of just given it a little twist, but still staying fairly grounded to some of the local flavors in the community.
Nice. Well, okay. So that's the Hacienda. And I have to say, I've been around since it was Posta de Mesilla, and you guys have done such a wonderful job. I mean, and Jerean just has this flair for decor, and to walk inside of La Posta, it's amazing. And do you still have the piranhas?
Oh yeah,
we do.
Okay,
we're down to
talk
one
about
right
that.
now.
We do.
Yeah, we have the only piranha in the state of New Mexico. And that piranha is probably 7 or 8 years old. We're keeping our eyes out for its children. We think they're around someplace in case we have to replace it. But what's also really unique about our lobby is not only the tropical fish and the piranha, but we also have tropical birds. And those were introduced to the lobby back in the late 1950s by Katie Griggs when she traveled to South America and Spain quite a bit. She was enamored by tropical birds, so she brought those birds back with her. We didn't bring the exact same birds back, but we have probably 12 of our feathered friends in the lobby, from macaws to yellowheads to cockatoos. And they're just a wonderful addition to the ambiance that, Jerean's created over the years. They talk to you. Sometimes they get a little salty, but they're our feathered friends, and we enjoy having them.
Well, and one of the interesting, funny stories about having tropical birds, because they could be smuggled in just like the piranhas and all of that. But one day we got a knock on the door by the INS. No, not the INS, by Fish and Wildlife. And, I go out to greet them, and he goes, "Where did you get this toucan?" And I'm like, well, a gentleman from Florida who happened to move to New Mexico couldn't keep the toucan because he was too rowdy in his apartment. Too loud. So we bought it. And he goes, "Well, I need to see his papers." And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, "You mean like an I-9? Do I have any paperwork like that?" And he just looked at me, and I said, okay, we'll get you the paperwork. But that was kind of like, okay, yes, we do have the paperwork that goes with this toucan. Same thing with the piranha.
You don't want to go there. You don't want to tell that.
So the moral of the story is you need to have
the piranha is legal, by the way.
The piranha is legal. Grandfather did. That's our story. We're sticking to it.
That's hilarious. No, and it just makes for a lot of fun. I mean, if you're coming in and say you have to wait a while, it's worth the wait because you get to wait with the birds. And of course, you get to look at the piranha. And I don't know how many people have seen piranhas, but I
Right.
hadn't until I had been in your restaurant. Right. And
Right.
then it's just nooks and crannies. So it's all these little rooms that were once a real hacienda. And so you go into one room and there's a bar, and then another room is the lava rock room, right?
Right.
Yep.
That's
That way
correct.
we call it, right? And so it's got lava rock going all the way up the sides of the walls, and so you're transformed into another place, into another reality when you walk in the doors of your restaurant, and it's not this one big room that just feels,
Sterile.
sterile, right? There's nothing about
Yeah.
La Posta that's sterile at all. And so I would really encourage people. It's like I say, a 45-minute drive from El Paso. There's a gorgeous back road that you can take through the pecan trees. It's outstanding. It's just a lovely afternoon drive to get there, and then to be in Mesilla, do a little shopping, have a couple of margaritas, and really enjoy your time at the La Posta. And if you've had too many margaritas, you're gonna have to stay overnight at the hacienda.
We can take care of you there too.
Right. So I want people to know how to get in touch with you. Number one, how do you get reservations?
Well, you can go online and make reservations at both restaurants. You can Google La Posta or Google Hacienda de Mesilla, and it'll take you to our webpage. We also take it traditionally over the telephone. So both ways. We don't do open table or some of those other online methods. So we're overwhelmed with the other two, you might say. But no, that's how you can get in touch with us and get a table. And we do take reservations at both places.
Okay, and a simple phone call as well will get you
That's
a
correct.
real person making a reservation.
A real live person will answer the phone.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty neat.
Yeah, that's different.
As we've gone through this past year, we've all had to pivot a little bit in our restaurants and how we do business. But the beauty of it is, especially in southern New Mexico, we have great weather. Thank God, because we have really broadened our clients' appetite for outdoor dining. So that's been pretty great. I mean, granted, you don't want to do it in the June and July at 106 degrees, but the rest of the time it can be very beautiful. So that's been kind of a silver lining, so to speak. We've really broadened everybody's appetite for outdoor dining. We also have done a lot of to-goes. People are still, kind of curbside to go.
And you're one of those restaurants that people just, they want to support you because, again, they've been going there all of their lives. They've been going there for all of their families, celebrations. And so I'm sure that people came out in abundance to support the restaurant during this last year when we've been closed down. But I used Las Cruces and Mesilla as an excuse when we were open for outdoor dining only in July. And then again, though, you fared much better in the October through November's, shut down. So, yeah.
I think one of the other pretty special points about La Posta, I mean, we've been here 80 years, but it's also a very family-oriented business. And so we've had people, some of our employees, who have worked with us for, some of them are no longer alive, but over 50 years. Our back kitchen, 20 years. We just inherited one of our servers who is the grandson of one of our servers from previous times. So, I mean, it really does kind of come to fruition. We couldn't have made it this past year without the great support of our employees. We're blessed to have a great staff. And so for them, I just want to do a shout out and thank you. They're awesome.
They are awesome. As a matter of fact, I've known many of your servers over the years. And I remember that we were going to give an award to a woman, and she passed away before we got the award to her.
Panchita Flores.
Panchita is a wonderful story. She immigrated from Mexico. She worked for us for 40 years. She died, she was
Early 90s.
91. She was going to be 91 years old and she was still working about 6 months prior to that. She had come down from cancer, and one of my cooks, actually one of my managers, took her home and took care of her till she died. And I mean, that's the heart of the corazon of, our community and how we are such a family. But she was amazing. She was I don't think she ever missed a day. She was a hardworking, just great lady.
No call-ins.
No call-ins.
No late to shifts. I mean, the younger folks could learn a lesson from that generation for sure.
I mean, she would carry on these whole big, huge pots, and we're like, Panchita, you don't have to.
Pots weigh more than she did.
Yeah, exactly. And she's like, no, I can do this. She was just beautiful. And we have 3 or 4. If you come to visit La Posta, down our hallway, we have 6 what we call legacy legends, and those are Panchita's one of them, Katie. We also have 4 others that actually had worked here over the years for 30, 40, 50 years. And we honor them as La Posta legends because they truly epitomize what La Posta is, which is not only the hard work and the great food, but the people who serve it to you.
Nice. Well, that is a beautiful note to end on. And I do want to ask you, though, is there anything else you want to talk about between the restaurant or the bed and breakfast? Any other last parting notes?
One thing we're really proud of is this relationship we have with the USS New Mexico, which I think you're familiar with. The state went for many years without a naval vessel named after it. So we were approached by the Department of the Navy and some of our congressional leadership back probably in the early 2000s. Long story short, they visited the crew of the USS New Mexico, which was being built in Newport News, Virginia. Visited the state, got familiar with several restaurants, had very many favorites, but decided they wanted to choose one that they could name their galley after. And guess what? La Posta de la Mar is somewhere under the sea, under the 7 seas somewhere, doing their thing right now. And so we're delighted to have that relationship with a submarine as landlocked as our state is. That's great. That's a great story and a great honor as well.
Great honor. We actually got to ride in, is that the good word?
Yeah.
Ride.
Ride
in the sub underneath and for about 4 hours off the coast of Florida.
Yeah,
it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It was pretty awesome.
It's a neat relationship we have with the Navy.
Very cool. And I think they have some of your recipes, right? They actually
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
We'll bring some of their crew out every so often, and they'll go shoulder to shoulder in our kitchen and learn our recipes and cook with our staff. It's pretty neat.
That is amazing. Well, wonderful. Thank you all so much for being here. Great to talk to you. And I also want to thank our generous sponsors, U.S. Foods, Cisco, New Mexico, Shamrock Foods, Heartland Payment Systems, the Food Industry Self-Insurance Fund, and Benny Keith Foods for their annual sponsorship of the New Mexico Restaurant Association and its programs. Please visit nmrestaurants.org to learn more about the association and our chef table sponsors. And thanks for tuning in to New Mexico Restaurants Now. You can watch this and other episodes on the New Mexico Restaurants Now YouTube channel, and you can subscribe to the audio podcasts at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music.